Hello everyone, my name is Jess and welcome back to my channel. Let me guess, you've recently submitted your Webtoon to the 2025 contest and you know you should probably try to promote it, but you don't know where to start. Well, don't worry, I'm about to give you guys 5 ways that you can steal straight from me to promote your Webtoon. Like seriously, steal it from me, take it, run with it, do whatever, because let's make this easier on everyone, right? Because at this point, or rather at the point of me filming this, we're a little over a month away from the end of the first judging period on like June 23rd. And I'm sure that many of us are kind of stuck right now trying to figure out like how to balance working on the next part of our entries in case we're invited to the second round of the contest, and how to have time to also work on things to promote what we currently have out. And even though I am fairly new to YouTube on the creator side of things, I am not new to promoting my OC content. I have had a ton of original characters over the years and have been consistently posting them on basically every single social media platform fairly successfully. I think especially like in the last few years, if that has anything to say. So I wanted to be able to give some of those tips to you guys just to be able to make it that a little bit easier, because it can be a little daunting trying to figure out how to get other people to care about your OCs and your stories. But I'm here to tell you that there are quite a lot of things that you can do, ranging from short form to long form content to help kind of garner the interest. So what are the 5 things that I'm going to be doing to promote my Webtoon Healing Hearts that you can also steal for promotion content for yourself? Well, the first thing you're going to want to do is save a graphic and all of your links to any device that you have, really. So I have my phone, my iPad, a laptop, a PC. So basically every single graphic, all of my cover images, things like that, all of my links, everything is saved to my devices. I like to make at least 3 still images in 3 different colors, and possibly also maybe add like some page or text animations in Canva. And don't worry, I am using the free version, so you can totally do this without having to pay for Pro. Of course, if you want to do things like remove your background, you might have to see if you can at least opt for the free trial. But the other thing you can do is put your image through PixArt, which will be linked below. And you can use their free background remover, though the image may be a little bit of a lower resolution. So do be wary of that. Now that you have these graphics, get ready to use them every day. And I know that sounds like super annoying, but I really do mean it, because you never know if you're hitting one more person who maybe like hasn't seen your stuff before, and that's just one more person that you're able to reach. So who knows? And because the goal of all of your promotion really is just to be able to help your story reach its audience. So an easy thing that I like to do on anything that has some sort of like story feature is just like post it there. So it looks like I'm engaging with that feature a lot more than I usually do, but it's super easy. Helps especially if you end up gaining any new followers, for them to be able to like see that and then easily be able to go to it. I know TikTok has like the stories and the little bots thing like on top of it now. So I typically will, or have been, like sharing the graphic, but then also sharing in my little thought that, it's out now. So every time it refreshes, I pretty much just put it right back up again. And it looks like I'm using those features a lot more. And do I really use that? Does anybody use it? I have no idea, but at least to TikTok, it looks like I am. And maybe that kind of helps to like push it out a little bit more. But it's a simple and very easy way to be able to use those graphics that you made. Obviously, you can also use these for real posts on your feed, albeit maybe a little bit more sparingly, since it's kind of like, it's going to be really hard if like all of your feed is just pretty much crowded with just a graphic, animated or not. But the point is to make it easy for you to just be able to post things. So you'll want to have these on hand for any devices or on any platforms that you might use, just so that it's easy if somebody asks, or, if you're out and about, you end up talking about it. I don't know. I say that as if I'm out and about and I end up talking about it, but you never know. If somebody asks, you're able to quickly pull it up and just say, yep, this is what I'm talking about, or this is my thing, or to be able to post it online for that. Speaking of platforms, let's talk the big ones as far as like the short form content goes. So I'm talking TikTok, I'm talking Reels, I'm talking Shorts. You should pre-film basically as much as you can. I know a lot of people end up saying that, but there really is so much merit to it, because it really frees you to be able to work on like the bigger stuff that you may want to work on. So the more short form content that you can just go ahead and get out of the way, the more that you're going to be able to do, because all you have to do is hit post on that, or you can even schedule it on certain things. I know you can schedule, if you're posting on your desktop, to YouTube Shorts. And you can also schedule a post on the TikTok desktop app, but it's been a little buggy recently. So either way, it's just, it's easy for these things to like sit in your drafts and be able to just hit post right afterwards, rather than having to think up something every single time, or you're working on the bigger content and then you're thinking about the smaller stuff because you just want to post something now and the bigger thing isn't done yet. So that's definitely something you just want to be able to have on the writing, along with your graphics, just to be able to go ahead and just press post and you don't have to worry about it anymore. If you have ADHD like me, and sometimes you find it difficult to like sift through all of your sounds, and you severely underestimate how many sounds you can like and or save within like a week's time, one thing that I end up doing that really helps me like remember what I wanted to do, especially if it's in like the middle of the day or something, or like I'm in transit. One thing that like super helps me is to basically just immediately use the sound. If I see something on a post and I like it and I'm like, oh, I like that sound, or oh, I could do something like that, I just go ahead and like click the sound, I press use, and even if I'm filming only like 2 to 5 like seconds of like content or something, I save it to my drafts. That way it's already there, and that way I already have it. It's ready for me to go back in and to like go ahead and like re-edit it or something like that. But it helps me kind of sift through everything, because sounds aren't really labeled all the time. It can be like a little challenging when you're looking for stuff. And so if you don't really want to go through the hassle of that, and you don't want to forget, or if you think of something like in the moment and you don't have anywhere to write it down, just go ahead and look up the sound and press use, because it's not going to go anywhere sitting in your drafts. And even if it does, you can easily save that sound, delete if you accidentally posted it, or put it on your story or whatever, and put it back in your drafts again. Everything will be fine. But that helps me out a lot if you find that you are constantly saving sounds or saving things in the collection, but then you're having a hard time remembering to go back to that, or remembering what you wanted to do for that. Easiest thing to do. You can even, in the description section, like type out like what you wanted to do for it. And I find that to be very helpful sometimes, so that I have the sound and then I just like type out the idea that I had, and I press save in my drafts. And then later on, when I actually have time, I can go through it, especially because, it pops up, and I'm one of those people who likes to try to get rid of her drafts if she can, so it doesn't shift over my feed. So that really helps me out a lot when trying to figure out what short form content am I going to make. So when it comes to actually using the sounds, right, I'm sure you're wondering like, well, how do I use that? Like, maybe not like actually like how do you use it, but in particular, like, how do you use that to promote your Webtoon? Your Webtoon could be about like literally anything. Well, many of us had like to create anywhere like probably like upwards on average about like 120 panels. Use that. There's no need for you to like recreate everything, especially not in the small form content step. This really can just be something where you save all of your panels without the text, so you can use them to random sounds. I will either go for sounds that tend to fit the vibes of the panels in my chapter, or I go for panels that fit a sound to help kind of introduce people to my characters a little bit more. Either way, I think definitely helps people get a better grasp of either what you're making or who your characters are, which is entirely the point. And, you did all of that work. And so I feel like any way that you can just continue to reuse that or rehash it or make something new. I've already put a couple of short form things myself that have reused some of the panels because they just worked well for, sounds. Even though the sounds were completely different, some of the panels ended up being the same. And, that's fine. I don't think until I pointed that out, anybody would have noticed that. And if you do notice which panel I'm overusing, keep your mouth shut, please, respectfully. Don't bring it up, please. But it's one of those things where for short form content, I think you just want to be able to be in a place where you can push it out like as easy as possible, and be able to, with the last point about finding those sounds and being able to use it immediately. If you have it on your device or if you're near your device, that's a super easy way where you have it. And then instead of having to try to cut around or trying to hold your phone or record things at an angle so you don't catch a certain phrase or a text or a speech thing that maybe might be a little bit distracting, saving. And you don't have to necessarily recreate all of your panels, right? You can just put all of your text into a folder, hide the folder, and then nothing will happen to it. You can always put those texts right back up. Nothing changes about the thing. If you feel safer duplicating it, go for it. I don't want to do anything that makes suggest anything that makes you feel anxious. But I definitely think, as long as you can just hide the text for a second so that you can quickly film just the expressions or reaction shots, whatever, the scenery that you may have drawn. I think that's super, super helpful when it comes to trying to figure out what sound might kind of fit the vibe of your panels. Also, if you find an older sound that you want to use, just go for it. Don't worry about it. Yes, there are times where, we need to be following trends. And if there is a trend that you can use for your comic, definitely go for it. But the reality is, even if you have an older sound on TikTok and you use it, normally it's still kind of trending somewhere. It's still popular somewhere, and it was popular for a reason. So the TikTok algorithm right now is one that if you like one thing with a sound, even if it's been a little bit, it's pretty much still going to pop up on their feed. So there's a good chance that you doing that hasn't technically cycled out of anybody's For You page at that moment. And especially when you're thinking about trends on TikTok, they take some time to get to Instagram and to YouTube Shorts. So sometimes sounds that might be considered old. It's so funny to think about that because it's maybe a month and a half cycle or whatever. But sounds that might be considered old on TikTok aren't old on Instagram and YouTube Reels, right? And in fact, maybe people think it's kind of a little bit more innovative. They're this is so funny. They have a fresher take to it sometimes. So if you have an older sound, definitely make sure you're posting that to Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts. Just because I think the audience might have, it might not be as fatigued with the sound yet. It might be a little bit more interactive. But, regardless, I don't think anybody should be sitting here and worried about whether or not their sound is too old or if they're using the best one, because really you're just trying to figure out how to connect your story to your audience, right? So you want to make sure that if the sound works for your characters, it works for your characters, and somebody is going to love the reminder of it. So don't worry about it. Just use the sound. The third thing is really about engaging with the people who engage with you. So yes, it is great when we as creators are commenting on each other's stuff, but most of our goals, I think, for creating these stories was also to connect it with an audience outside. So not necessarily other Webtoon creators, but maybe Webtoon enjoyers. So while it's very, very important for us to be able to engage and communicate with our community there as creators, it is also super important for us to connect with anyone who might be responding to whatever it is that you're posting. So what do I mean by these things? This is something where if somebody asks you a question about your work, and assuming there's not a spoiler in it, answer them. I love it when people ask me questions. It makes me it just makes it so much easier for me to be able to respond to things because I know these answers, or it gets me thinking in a way, and it starts a little bit of a dialogue. So questions can really help me when I'm trying to connect with people who might be engaging with my content. And if it's a spoiler, tease. use those eye emojis. Say something like, I don't know. Guess you'll just have to find out. Or like tease that it might be coming soon, whatever. Either of those things, I think, helps to really like connect your audience or give them a little bit to look forward to. And sometimes people also like to know, like, if they see something and you can say like, yes, that's totally what I was thinking of, or yeah, you're so right, or oh my God, I'm so glad you caught that. People love to be right about stuff. So if you can, get them a little something here and there. I feel like that's always like something encouraging when I read something myself and then I comment and then somebody says like, yeah, that's exactly what I was going for. I love that. I feel like it's great as an artist. Also, I love being able to know that the messages I was trying to come out or the details that I put in there really are connecting with an audience. Someone saw it, and that I feel like is always a great way and a great chance to be able to connect. And hopefully get them more excited about being able to look at your stuff in the future as well. The hard part obviously comes in if no one asks a question, but like they do still like just comment. It's just kind of maybe more of like a statement. Like, what do you do then, right? And I think a lot of people tend to say, like try to ask them a question instead, which I would definitely agree with, because helping your story find its audience involves connecting with your community. So be genuine about it. If you don't have a natural question to ask, see just really how you can connect with the commenter, even if it's just something as simple as their profile picture or something like that. But chances are, if they're responding to the sound that you use, you guys can at least connect over that, even if it's just to like share some laughs together or something. And I know some of you might be thinking, this isn't really promoting anything though. And you're kind of right. Sometimes like these brief conversations can lead people back to your story and get them involved and help them like to subscribe. But that isn't always to be expected. The point of this step, like specifically, is to help you build genuine connections with your audience. Because if you think about the times when like you share something with others, it's normally a piece that you connect with, right? And sometimes it's because you connected with the story, its characters, like its message. But there are other times that you share something because you connected with the creator itself. And you never know what's going to help get your story shared, what's going to help it connect to a broader audience, whatever. But you shouldn't underestimate, I think, the importance of your audience being able to connect with you as the author too. All right, guys, this is so weird to do without my little PNG tuber girl, but I guess we're doing it. But it is time for our little secret code, little password thing. So if you've made it this far into the video, first of all, thank you. Here's a secret little passcode for you to respond to so I can give you all of my undying love in the comments. What's some content that you would consider to be medium form? And if you don't know what I mean by that, I mean things that you may need to create some new content for, but it's still pretty low effort. Because maybe you've done all of your short form content, but you were hoping to have something a little more polished as well to be able to publish. And there's two ways to do this, right? You can do long form, which we'll get to in a moment, but also something I like to call medium form. So examples of medium form content that I know I'm going to be making are playlists for my characters, uncolored sketches that I can just easily kind of put to like music or sounds on TikTok, something easy like that. Sketch to final progress shots, meet the cast slideshows, meme redraws. Those are pretty popular, I think. Mini lore drops, or like a did you know about like the character. Like those can easily be like anywhere from like I think 30 seconds to like 3 minutes. Because again, they don't have to be, even though it's like a medium form content, it doesn't have to be super long. Your medium form content can still be like a 30-second thing or something like that. Just something that maybe feels like a little bit more scripted or a little bit more put together, or takes a little bit more thought. So it's not just sound, create the video, post it, something like that. So sometimes it helps to kind of like help them engage a little bit. Other things you can do is how I came up with this character or this scene. So, like you're filming like a panel or something, and then maybe doing like a little voiceover of that, depending on if you're comfortable. And an episode recap, which I will definitely be getting into later on all of my socials as well. But my idea with medium form content is like these should be lower effort than something like a trailer, which I know most people are kind of interested in looking to try to make, but perhaps more engaging than just a singular post or a graphic, as I mentioned earlier. Not that, again, those are not very useful and can't connect with your audience, but sometimes some people need like a little bit more energy. So that can be, I think, very, very helpful. And bonus points if you can make something that is reusable in some way or can be like some sort of template friendly like content. And finally, for our fifth and final tip of today, we have our long form content, which I think is what most people think about when they're thinking about like promotional things. I hope that the short form and medium form content help to give you some ideas about some other stuff that you can do. But as I mentioned, when you're doing the short form one, maybe you have already like pre-filmed a whole bunch of stuff. So what have you now opened up like some time for you to be able to work on? Well, like the number one thing, like I mentioned before, was a trailer, right? So you're combining music, maybe some narration of your own, or just text, who knows, and some art panels for a somewhat cinematic look. If you're going the free route, I would suggest either doing CapCut, which is user-friendly, but a lot of things are unfortunately now blocked behind a paywall of some kind. Or you can also use DaVinci Resolve, which is also free, but definitely a little bit more difficult if you are learning it for the first time. And I would say, you don't really want to, even though it's long form content, you don't really want to like spend so much time working on that you take time away from working on the bigger thing, which are your later episodes for your webtoon, whether that's for the contest entry or just later on in general as you continue to use this, because obviously these aren't just specific to the contest. I think you can use these at any point in time. This just happens to be right after the 2025 Legends contest has ended its first round. So that's why I'm bringing it up now. But definitely make sure that, like, regardless of what type of content you're doing, you're still not overextending yourself or focusing so much on it, because the idea that anything's going to be perfect, to just give up on it. It can still be good and it can still be great and it can still connect. And I think the trying to make it look perfect or trying to like level up your skills to a point where it may or may not match like the vision that you had in your head. I know that can be frustrating, but sometimes it just needs to get out there because it can still be enticing, And speaking of enticing, character edits. If you are already kind of on the editing vibe and are very comfortable with that, even especially like while making your trailer, I would definitely suggest trying to do some character edits. So, make a thirst trap for your webtoon heartthrobs, or get us really hooked on your villain. Or, you can even show off like some of the funnier panels of like your jokester if you're in the most laughed section or something like that. I was trying to think of an example for like the thriller ones, and I think in the same way, like with the villain, like if you can, I wouldn't say like maybe jump scare us or something like that, like who knows. But I think there's like still some very interesting ways where you can use some of the other characters, maybe tease a little bit of the mystery there, so that we can start to get a creepy sense of what we're going to be dealing with or looking at in your story. Another possibly long form content in the sense of, it may come out to be about like 2 or 3 minutes long, but it's probably going to involve a lot of work behind the scenes, our animatics. So this is something that I'm going to be doing. And, even as I am working on this now, I will say that the advice that I need to take and that I'm giving to you guys is definitely not to overwork yourself on this one. But I think it's just a great way to be able to combine like your OC lore with some pre-established like fandom love. So that's always like a fun way and an easy way kind of to help people understand, especially if it's something similar to your story or what you like or what you're writing. It's just an easy way to help people kind of understand, oh, this is what your character is like. Oh, this is how like they process things or understand it. So if you are comfortable or feel like you can work on that, I would definitely suggest like of these things I'm about to suggest, like maybe not doing every single one, because again, you just maybe don't have the time right now. You can always come back and kind of mix and match and do some new things as you continue with your episodes on Webtoon. But I would say if this is something that you feel like isn't going to really take you a long time, definitely try it out, because you never know like what that's going to connect to. I know I'm going to try to get the animatic up so that it can just be up. Be done, and then I can focus on other things. And I think that might just be one of the longer form things that I end up working on. Another one is a kind of draw this scene or panel with me, or like a draw with me video, where now that we have the first 3 episodes up, or 4 if you were working on the most laugh section, maybe now that you've gotten a little bit of a better handle on your storyboarding process or things like that, maybe now you want to be able to showcase that if it's not too distracting or not going to be something that's a little difficult for you to handle, like maybe storage or memory wise on your devices. But I think you can either like yap about things like I'm doing like right now, or you can talk about something a little bit more meaningful, maybe also including sort of like a behind the scenes kind of mini documentary sort of thing. So like talking about your work setup, your storyboarding process, just the process of trying to make the story in general. So maybe some things that like you've already kind of learned of making in the first few episodes. Maybe this isn't your first time making a webtoon as it is for me. And so if you had to rehash your story, what were some of the things that you ended up really having to battle about trying to change it, trying to add new things to it, make it enticing in another way? Not that it wasn't enticing the first time, but trying to revitalize it for the contest. So I think all of those things together will really kind of help you feel like you're getting that work done that you need to for the second round, but also you have a video that you can edit or spice together, or even just like leave up. It can easily just be something where it's just hours and hours of basically a vlog of us kind of following you along while you draw. Okay, so those are the 5 things that I'm going to be doing to promote my webtoon. I know it was technically a little bit more than 5 because we kind of broke down each section, but hopefully that was helpful in some way. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you like this video, I hope you will like the video, and I hope you'll consider subscribing so that we can see more of each other in the future. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, please feel free to steal these strategies from me, because let's just make it easier on ourselves. And I hope that they were helpful to you guys and gave you some more ideas, especially if you were stuck trying to figure out like how to promote your webtoon or where to go if you want to do long form content, but you also want something out now. Be prepared also to see some of the long form content that I mentioned coming out soon here on my channel. And speaking of coming out, and definitely in line with what this video is about, make sure to check out my contest entry, Healing Hearts, a dramatic romance story about a disillusioned Cupid and a non-traditional Grim Reaper coming together to help their charges through love, loss, and all the mess in between. So if you're interested in how these 2 cosmic opposites manage to work together, you should definitely check it out via the link in the description below. And as I mentioned, I have an animatic for this webtoon coming out soon, but I do have other animatics that are currently out on this channel, as well as some Let's Plays for my cozy game if you want to check that out as well. And if you're as excited about our grumpy Cupid, our cutesy Grim Reaper, and the humans we'll be working with as I am, stick around. There is so much more to come. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment about that secret thing that we talked about earlier. So until next time, you guys keep creating, keep challenging yourself, and I'll see you next time in our next creative adventure.